Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they asked emotions to do the job that identity was meant to carry. At some point, motivation fades. We've all been there. The excitement wears off and the vision gets quiet. And what's left is the version of you that shows up when no one is watching. That's the moment that decides everything. Because growth isn't built in the moments of inspiration. It's built in repetition, in follow through, in the quiet decision to keep your word to yourself when it would be easier not to. Today isn't about hype. Today is about discipline. It's about trust, and it's about who you're becoming on the ordinary days when you never get those applauses. So the question isn't whether you're capable enough, because we both know you are. The question is, if you lived the next year without excuses, without waiting for motivation, and without the fear of what anyone else thinks, who would you choose to become? That's what we're going to be talking about on today's episode of the Fi Guys podcast. I'm Dom, my co-host who is usually here with us today, Chris. He will be joining us next Monday, which I'm excited for his return. So it's just going to be you and I today. So with that being said, I'm Dominic. This is the Fi Guys. Let's get into it. Welcome to Fi Friday Feedback on the Fi Guys podcast, where we recap key takeaways from our most recent episode in order to help cement the information in your mind. We'll also be providing insights to burning questions from our community members in the viewer mailbag.
Remember, the Fi Guys podcast is your trusted source for all things financial independence, and we're thrilled to have you here with us on this journey. So whether you're listening while commuting, at the gym, or just relaxing at home, we're here to provide you with the knowledge and inspiration you need to achieve your financial goals. The Fi Guys is a podcast dedicated to providing general information and insights on a wide range of wealth-related topics. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the host and guests and do not constitute personalized financial advice.
The content provided in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It should not be considered a substitute for professional financial advice. Your financial situation and goals are unique, and the information provided here may not be applicable or suitable for your specific circumstances.
We, the host and the guests of the Fi Guys, are not acting as your financial advisor. We are not aware of your individual financial situations, risk tolerance, or investment objectives. Any decisions or actions you take based on the information provided on this podcast are your own and made at your own risk. I may be a financial advisor, but I am not your financial advisor. And now that the lawyers are happy, let's get started.
Make sure to cut that part out. I'm the one who edits this. I might not cut that out. It's a good song in the disclaimer. It's a great song in the disclaimer. You can't hate me for that. So let's get right into it. Today's podcast, if you are new to the episode, new to the channel, new to the series we like to call The Journey of Fi, what we like to do is Monday will be the bulk of the episode. Friday, we will be recapping everything we talked about on Monday, but a little bit more bullet point, a little bit more of a speedy fashion if you want the Cliff Notes version, and also giving a little bit different take on Monday's episode. But it's not all recap on Friday's episode, right? That'd be kind of boring. Halfway through the episode, we stop the recap. We then go to our viewer mailbag. It's where a person in the audience, yes, it could be you, writes in to us, Chris and Dom, the Fi Guys. You know this. And we try and give our best advice for you. And remember, please try and keep those viewer mailbags as detailed as possible, because we always like to give as powerful of an impact and an answer to all of your questions as we possibly can. But with that being said, let's get right into the recap of Monday's episode. So starting off strong, motivation feels powerful. Motivation feels powerful, but it is unreliable. Maybe you felt that in your own life. I'm sure this episode doesn't come as a shock to you. We've all been there. I've been there. Chris has been there. The whole world's been there. Name someone you've looked up to. They've been in your shoes. Motivation is emotional energy. It's not endurance. It shows up when ideas are new and hope is high, right? Think beginning of the year, right? Trying to lose some weight, maybe start waking up early, maybe get some more sleep. I know a lot of you guys have not been getting your proper amounts of sleep. Very important that you do. It convinces us that this time will be different. But motivation is reactive. It leaves when progress slows, right? Life gets inconvenient and doubt shows up. Three big factors we always see around February when everybody initially and unfortunately quits their habits, quits their new goals, quits their New Year's resolutions. And darn it, I'm not going to let it happen this year. This is why we got to do the podcast. It's very important. Relying on motivation trains you to wait. It trains you to feel ready, to feel confident, and wait till things feel right. And to be honest, that's all wrong. And we got to get out of that habit. Most people don't fail because they're incapable, right? They fail because they asked emotions to do the job identity was meant to carry. Now, I'm mentioning this a second time. When I was developing the show notes for today's episode, I came across this line and I absolutely loved it. I was like, man, we gotta add this in the intro, right? But I wanted to make sure it's in here twice because it's so important. It's not. Let me give an example. Let me try and clear the air, clarify, maybe help you understand this so it sticks even more, right? So most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they asked emotions to do the job that identity was meant to carry. So what does that mean? New year. I want to be a little bit more healthier. Maybe have a protein shake in the morning. Go to the gym 3-4 times a week, right? Understandable. It's a good goal. It's not terrible. How do we do it though? How do we do it? Any guesses? Well, we do it by shifting our beliefs and shifting our beliefs in ourselves. Rather than doing it on motivation, it's like, I'll wake up early when we know that bed is most comfy in the morning and it's cold in the morning, right? Nobody wants to get up early. We have to tell ourselves that we are healthy. We're the type of person that is healthy. I'm the type of person that goes to the gym. Not necessarily a gym rat, but you understand. Maybe one day. But we have to reinstill in ourselves that, hey, no, those unhealthy habits, those are in the past. That was the old me. But it's not enough to just say it. You have to know it. You have to believe it. When someone offers me a cigarette, do I question whether or not I should take it? No, I'm not a smoker. And maybe you guys can kind of relate to that. You're the type of person that gets up early and goes to the gym and has that protein shake and says yes to the salad rather than the cheeseburger. Boy, do I know how hard that is. I love a good cheeseburger. Can't stand that rabbit food though. I'm sorry. I'm not a big rabbit food guy. But we have to change the identity, the self-identity. And I truly believe that it all starts with the mind. It really does, guys. It really does. So with that being said, let's move on to our second point. The real cost of waiting for motivation. This is the scary side of motivation, right? Motivation-based living creates a pattern of starting strong, which is nice, which is good, right? But fading quietly. Not dramatic failure, slow self-betrayal. Over time, this erodes our self-trust more than confidence. Maybe there was a time where you started out excited, but unfortunately, it just didn't sustain. I think it's time to take another look at that goal that you had that faded so quietly. And not just accept that that is who you were, a failure in that area, but maybe you wanted to learn how to play the piano, a beautiful instrument. Rather than saying, I'm learning how to play the piano, it's like, no, I am a musician. I practice. A musician practices. He sets aside time to work on his craft. That is who I am, not who I want to be, not my goal for this year. And, It's who I am. Doing this podcast, being a podcaster, a content creator, it's not something that I do anymore. It's something that I am. Let's get on to our next point. What discipline actually is. This is the part of discipline that I think if you didn't listen to Monday's episode, it might shock you a little bit. You might want to think on this one a little bit more. So discipline is not punishment. I know it often feels like it, right? It feels forced. It feels like punishment. It feels like a slap on the wrist, right? That's really not what that's not what discipline should feel like. Discipline at its core is self-trust. It's keeping the promises to yourself when no one is watching. Discipline eliminates the daily negotiation. The decision is already made. When I wake up, it's not a matter of, am I going to the gym today, Dom? No, I'm healthy. I'm active. I'm going to the gym because that's who I am. I'm the type of person that goes to the gym. I'm the type of person when no one is awake, I'm awake. When no one's going to the gym, I'm going to the gym. I wish no one went to my gym. Man, that'd be nice. It seems like my gym's always packed at 8 a.m. Maybe you guys know something quite similar to that. It's both motivating and depressing at the same time. Getting to the gym so early, feeling like you accomplished so much, and then it's all packed. Funny how that works. But confidence doesn't come from hype. It comes from knowing that you'll show up. The more you do, the more undeniable proof you have. The more undeniable confidence you will build. Confidence not built on a shaky foundation. Confidence not built on belief, but built on evidence. And that is the key. We must build the evidence so that we can learn to trust ourselves again. And when we can trust ourselves again, we can accomplish immense things, truly grand things. But what's the difference? Discipline versus motivation in the real life. You know, a lot of books I read, sometimes they talk a little bit too much about the theory of things. In theory, this works. In theory, that works, right? That's not what we're doing today. I'm not a big theory guy. I'm a practitioner. I like to live in the real world. Motivation thrives, right? Under ideal conditions. Discipline functions in imperfect ones. And I think we both know life is quite imperfect. You know, January 1st, everything is ideal. You laid your clothes out the night before, maybe. You weren't partying too hard. You know, you went to bed hopefully on a reasonable time. And in the morning, you woke up, protein shakes already made in the fridge, outfit's ready. You know, you dress to the nines, you got your best workout outfit on, you go to the gym, hurrah, huzzay, right? But that's day one. Day two, things start to slip. Day three, everything's off the rails. Day four, you're ready for next year. Discipline functions in imperfect worlds, in imperfect days. Discipline reduces the friction between decision, emotional resistance, and inner debate. It's not a matter of question anymore with discipline. It's a matter of fact. And that's what we're trying to get to. Repetition creates familiarity. Listen, if you listen to Monday's episode, I pay attention when I said familiarity. I must have done it 10 takes. I butchered it so hard. Maybe you didn't catch it. Maybe the editing was so good. I don't know. But these familiar actions become easier the more you do them. The first time you get up early to go to the gym is a lot harder than the 1,000th time, or the 100th time, or even the 50th time. It's not going to be easy every morning, but it does get a little bit easier. This is our last point from Monday's episode that I want to recap before we move on to our closing reflections and viewer mailbag. How discipline reshapes your identity. Discipline teaches that you don't need confidence to act. You don't need clarity to continue. Every act of follow through becomes evidence. Evidence builds self-trust. Self-trust builds confidence. Identity changes before the results show up. You become reliable long before you feel successful. The person you're trying to become is shaping you on the days no one sees. I hope you hold those truths to your heart. I hope you hold them tight. I hope you hold on to them throughout your day, throughout your week, throughout this new year. I hope you choose discipline when no one's watching. I hope you choose the hard path when the easy one is so easy. Closing reflections. Motivation is loud and fleeting. Discipline is quiet and lasting. Most transformations happen on ordinary days. I know sometimes we look at our life as a movie. We're looking for that one moment where the boss pisses you off and you say, I'm done, I'm finished. Screw you, I'm starting my own company. I'm out of here, right? We imagine these moments, these big, huge, grandiose moments, these dramatic moments in our lives, but life doesn't always present those moments. It doesn't give you a loud exit. Oftentimes, it's a quiet death. So the final question of today's recap of Monday's episode is, what's one small commitment you could honor consistently, not because it excites you, and that's key here, not because it excites you, but because it aligns with who you want to become? I don't like eating salad. In fact, I hate eating salad. I can't stand it. I don't like eating vegetables. I'm not a big vegetable guy, right? But I want to be healthy. I need to be healthy for the people that I love because they count on me. And that's something we didn't actually mention in Monday or Friday. Making your goals about something bigger than yourself is a great way to stick with your goals. I hope you took this recap with importance, with notes, and with an open mind. Remember, education without action is just entertainment. And we're all about the entertainment over here. But we want to see that action, right? We want to see you guys get 1% better every single day. With that being said, I got to ban that word from this channel. With that being said, if you have any new transition words, please leave them down in the comments. I need to know. That's going to do it for our recap portion of this episode. We're going to be moving on to our viewer mailbag of the week. Very excited about this one. I'm doing it solo. We're doing it live. I hope someone caught that reference. I didn't say the full quote live, but we're doing it live. So today's viewer mailbag, if you are new here, one of the community writes into me and Chris and I, and we try and give our best advice and try and help them out as best as we can. So with that being said, let's get right into today's viewer mailbag. Howdy, Fi Guys. Howdy, that is us. I don't really know how to explain this without sounding dramatic. Hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with being dramatic. You've met me. But I feel stuck between two versions of myself. The version of me that knows what I'm capable of. The one that wakes up early. The one that keeps his promises to himself. The one who takes responsibility for his action and doesn't make excuses. I've been that person before, long enough to know he's real. And then there's the version of me that procrastinates, scrolls instead of acting, avoids the hard conversation, and tells himself, I'll lock in tomorrow. I think a lot of us can relate to this one. What's frustrating me is that nothing is technically wrong with my life. I'm not in crisis. I'm not struggling to survive. But I also don't feel proud of how I am living. It feels like I'm constantly negotiating with myself, lowering standards just enough to stay comfortable, but high enough to feel disappointed. The hardest part is that people around me still see me as the same guy. And when I try to change it, it almost feels like I'm betraying the version of myself that they're used to. Sometimes I wonder if it's easy to just stay the same old me, just so things don't get awkward. I guess my question is, how do I stop identifying with the version of myself that keeps holding me back and actually become the person I know I'm capable of without feeling like I'm pretending or abandoning who I used to be? Thank you for everything that you do. We appreciate you. From Anonymous. Well, how about that? That is a viewer mailbag that I think a lot of us can relate to. We know that we have such great potential. But the lure of social media, of being lazy, of being gluttonous, of being selfish has poisoned our entire way of life. You know, there was a few parts in here that I kind of want to go over in detail, actually, because it actually really hit home for me. Let me grab it real quick. Sometimes I wonder if it's easier to stay the same old me just so things don't get awkward. You'll end up hating yourself. Honestly, in my experience, you for someone like you, it sounds like you're the type of being that longs for change, that longs for more, that longs for more. Not necessarily more cars, more clothes, more XYZ, but to be more. You feel like your potential is greater than what you are. Not everybody has this. Not everybody has the love of growth, the love of the pursuit of more knowledge, more kindness, more love, more everything, more wisdom, right? You shouldn't let anybody dim your light or stand in the way of you growing to the best version of yourself. You said something at the end of this that I thought was really interesting. I'm going to read it back so that we can both be on the same page. Let's see. How do I stop identifying with the version of myself that keeps holding you back and actually become the person you know you're capable of? And this is the next part that I want to touch on. Without feeling like you're pretending or abandoning who you used to be. Interesting choice of words. It's my belief that in order to become who you want to be, you have to give up who you were. It's like they talk about, what is it, Newton's third law? In order to get somewhere, you have to leave something behind. I don't think there's anything wrong with pretending on a micro scale. Long term, very bad idea. Very bad idea to pretend long term, right? But if pretending, if that's what you need to kind of jumpstart the ship, I'm not against it. And I'm not saying to lie. I'm not saying to lie and get yourself in a bunch of trouble. Don't pretend to be a cop, right? That's highly illegal, right? But what I am saying is pretend to be the person you want to be. And you'd be shocked at how quickly you morph into that person. I want to be more trustworthy. I'm not going to lie at all this week. Every question I get, I'm going to answer it truthfully, no matter the consequences. See how easy that is, see how difficult that is. It's a bit of both, right? I don't know if you can move forward without leaving something behind. I don't think so. I don't know what you're trying to leave behind. It sounds like there's some people in your life that don't necessarily operate on the same wavelength that you operate on. That maybe they're not as focused on personal development, personal growth like you are. And you feel like you're outgrowing them or you want to outgrow them, but you don't want to hurt their feelings. And that's understandable. That's very human of you. That's good. It's good. It's correct not to want to hurt someone's feelings. You know, you should never want to hurt someone's feelings, right? But I will also say sometimes you do have to be selfish. Sometimes you do have to cut off certain people, certain dead skin, certain dead weight, right? Sometimes we sacrifice so much for others and we end up paying the ultimate price. We might look back on our life and be like, why the hell did I do that? Why didn't I just go for it, dude? Why didn't I just live the life I wanted to live? So my final thoughts for this viewer is don't be afraid to be bold, and be bold before you feel safe, before you feel ready, because you'll never feel ready. Ready is an illusion. Ready is an illusion like motivation. It almost doesn't exist, right? Choose who you want to be in this life and work every day towards that till it becomes a reality. Well, that's going to do it for our viewer mailbag portion of the podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you would like to write into our podcast, everything that you need to know to write in is in the description down below. Whether you're listening on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, I said Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, wherever you're listening to the podcast, it'll be linked down below in the description. The final thing for today's episode is our win of the week. This is where we try and end the podcast on a little bit of a lighter note. Sometimes the viewer mailbag is a little bit heavy, a little bit dark. Right? Today it wasn't too bad, but we always try to end on a positive, because ending on a positive just sets the tone for the rest of the day, rest of the weekend, rest of the week, right? So if you have a win of the week, I would love to hear it down below in the comments. If you can comment, go to the comments. Let us know what your win of the week is. Doesn't have to be finance. It can be anything. For my win of the week this week is recording this podcast with all of you. I used to do a lot of solo content many years ago, and it really fueled my passion for content creation, for teaching, and for learning. And when Chris and I kind of came up with the idea of me doing a solo pod, I was excited. And after recording Monday's episode, I was elated. Dear diary, today was great. And it's one of those things that I want to continue doing. Obviously, I want Chris back. I got to have my main man, Chris, back, and he's coming back on Monday, which I'm very excited for. But I do believe that this was the spark that I needed to go on my Dominic James YouTube channel and return to posting these kinds of videos. Maybe not as long as the podcast, but doing book reviews, talking about topics that interest me and are relevant to us as a society to get better. As you can see, I haven't had any water in 32 minutes, so I'm gonna need some water after this one. But this is a very long win of the week, I guess. But yeah, guys, that's gonna do it for me. I appreciate you for putting up with me this Friday. Back to the normal schedule on Monday with Chris and Dom as usual. Well, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. If you did, please leave a like, leave a follow, share the episode with someone that you care about. It would make their day a little bit better, I believe. And with that being said, my name's Dominic. Our co-host that isn't here right now is Chris. We are the Fi Guys, And we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
This video podcast is sponsored by Monzon Wealth. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. We do not endorse specific products or services. Past performance does not guarantee future results. The opinions expressed are those of the host and guests, not the podcast sponsor.
It is crucial to consult with a qualified financial advisor or professional who can provide advice tailored to your specific needs before making any financial decisions, investments, or taking any other actions. If you are seeking specified help, you can reach out to Chris at monzonwealth.com.